this week's Q&A, we have 9 questions about breakers, bulbs, and testing for voltage. Stay tuned.
Question. I have a drill and one of the prongs broke off. What do I do to fix it?
If you have a drill or an appliance that has the cord end damaged, whether it's the prong being broken off or it's just damaged or cut or burned, there is an easy fix. You can purchase a cord end or a cord cap. It's just a replacement piece. You just go to the local hardware store, cut off the old end, and put the new one on. So it's a pretty easy fix. You don't have to replace the whole appliance or the whole cord, so it's an easy one.
I need to test for a specific voltage. What do I use?
In order to test for a specific voltage, whether it's AC or DC, that is household or business, commercial, or if it's like automotive or low voltage, you simply use a multimeter. That'll test any voltage, whether it's AC or DC. They will all test the same thing.
I have an amplifier that has a 30 amp 240 volt twist lock plug on it. What kind of adapter can I use it in my house?
Whether you have an amplifier or any piece of equipment that's 30 amps at 240 volts, there is simply no adapter that you can use to adapt it to household current. The standard duplex outlet in a home and most offices or businesses is 115 volts at 15 amps. Occasionally you might see a 20 amp receptacle, but there is no way to adapt it from 30 amps to 20 or 15 amps. As well as the voltage. You cannot get 240 volts out of a 110 volt receptacle.
I have a 2-pole 50 amp breaker on a new circuit. It tests 240 on one leg. What is the problem?
If you're seeing 240 volts on a leg in a circuit where you're expecting to see 120, it's kind of difficult to say depending on the circumstances, but it's one of two things. First of all, it could be some type of equipment that's plugged into a circuit somewhere that's damaged or faulty, and it could be backfeeding on the neutral. It depends on how you're testing the 240 volt or where you're getting that number from. The other thing that it's actually more likely that it could be is that the service coming in from your utility provider is faulty or failing, the transformer, and it's giving you 240 on one leg. So it depends on where you're testing it from.
What size is the knockout in a metal box, such as in a recessed light can, and is it standard?
The knockout in most recessed cans or any metal box or junction box or device that has a knockout in it is considered half-inch for electrical standards. The actual measurement is 7/8, but if you go to the store and look for a 7/8 fitting, you won't find it. It is considered half-inch, and that'll be half-inch connectors, half-inch pipe, whatever you're running to it will be half-inch. So don't measure it with a tape measure. That measurement is 7/8, but it's not identified that way. It's identified with half-inch.
My breaker keeps tripping. Do I just need a new breaker?
So if you have a breaker that keeps tripping, the solution is not necessarily to replace the breaker. In fact, it most likely is not the breaker. It could be if the breaker is very, very old, but most likely something on the circuit is causing it. It's either overloading or shorting, and I would suspect that you need to find the problem elsewhere and not look at the breaker. It could be something plugged into it, could be a short in the circuit, and an old fixture or device, but it's most likely not the breaker. The breaker is just doing its job.
Does 12-2 MC cable have 2 or 3 wires in it?
Whether it's MC cable or non-metallic Romex, the numbers that you're going to see on those products refers to the same thing. So a 12-2 MC cable actually has 3 conductors in it. It has 2 current carrying conductors, which is the hot and the neutral, plus a ground. If you see a 12-3, such as on Romex or MC cable, that indicates that there's 3 current carrying conductors, which means that there's 2 hot wires, a black and a red, as well as a neutral, and a ground wire in there.
Can I still buy warm white light bulbs?
Warm white lights are still available and very common. Every incandescent bulb produces warm white light. Some companies, depending on the manufacturer, particularly with LED or CFL lighting, will use the term soft white. Soft white and warm white are interchangeably used. So if you see soft white on something, it means the same thing as warm white.
AmpEdition asks, I'm not sure what I can do. I have lived in 2 apartments now where half the house is one circuit with a 15 amp breaker. Why would they do this even without AC going? It trips. Anything I can do as a renter?
Many older homes use 2 fuses or even 2 circuit breakers simply because we didn't use as much electricity 30, 40 years ago as we do nowadays, and those homes or apartments have not been upgraded electrically to provide more electrical to the units. So simply we use more electricity nowadays, and if the building has not been upgraded, then you're going to have 2 fuses or 2 breakers serving many apartments. It's still quite common. So the only thing that we can do in those situations is budget our electricity just like we do our finances, and learn to use certain things and turn certain things off when we're using other things. Until the electricity can be upgraded, you can have a larger electrical service and electrical panel with more circuit